Good evening. It's Thursday night, and I'm by myself for a little bit. Should be joined by a couple more people. But we're going to talk about Alzheimer's. We're going to talk about metabolic syndrome. We're going to talk about insulin resistance. And so, first off, let's talk about metabolic health. And well, first off, I guess we got to go backwards because even in debate, you have to look at the definition of terms so we all know what we're talking about. So what is metabolism? Let's back up to the basics of what is metabolism. And metabolism is the utilization of material to create energy. Of course, energy can't be created or destroyed, but in the cellular level, we're taking the glucose, the food that you ate, in the food that you eat, the starches that are, and sugars that you consume, and there's over 260 names for sugar, and all those that go past your tongue create chaos in your system, in your body. And we only need a teaspoon total of sugar or glucose at one time. And just look at a half a second. If you sat down and you had a drive-through dinner at one of your favorite restaurants with the bucket and the bag and the carbohydrate sticks and the carbohydrate wrap buns and everything else, and you have that, guess what? You just did the wonderful thing called energy. And that energy, that conversion involves insulin. And that insulin is great, but what happens is sometimes you have too much too often. And that's where the chaos can begin. And there's metabolic diseases or metabolic symptoms that are all over the place. And that's what we're going to talk about. And one of the things that happens, hi, Jennifer, how are you tonight? Is that, look, we're working better technology-wise. And I was good. I was concerned that I wouldn't have enough speed tonight because I was just on a national call and my bandwidth was unstable. So I'm glad we're going here. But the reality is that people don't understand now that type 3 diabetes is really created by insulin resistance. Now, here's the whole thing. 97%, 93%, 80%, I don't care what number you want to use, but will you agree that a whole lot of people have a whole lot of issues? A lot more than, now you're just a youngster. I've been around 73 years. You're like, you're just hitting past 39 this first time. And the thing is that when we were kids, when I was raised, we didn't have really type 2 diabetics. We didn't have obesity. Are you kidding me? I mean, we didn't have that. I mean, there would be literally the odd duck that might have a gravity fed challenge, but by and large, we didn't have obesity. Certainly didn't have childhood obesity, right? I mean, maybe it's because we drank out of hoses and everything. Hey, Keith, good seeing you, buddy. I love you. You did great tonight. And so one of the things happens is that the foods have changed. And as the foods have changed, and I call it 1970 as the demarcation line, Jennifer, because that's when high fructose corn syrup really came into play. Mm-hmm. When that came into play, then that was in the 70s. And then the 90s, the tobacco took over the food. And if you don't know that, folks, go look it up, because the people that brought to you the most addictive substance at the time, tobacco, right? Yep. I mean, they did a whole series on one of the networks called Madison Men, and it was about the whole industry of post-World War II, Korea into there with tobacco and the addictiveness of it. And so when they bought the food industry, which they did and had it for 2 decades, they brought out the very first food chart. And the very first food pyramid, the bottom part of the pyramid was breads and pastas, crackers, cookies, all of that carbohydrate, grain. Now, one of the reasons that it was there is because it's highly profitable.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture was subsidizing grain. So they were all for it because they get more money to subsidize more for more growth and more grain. And so imagine eating 6 to 11 times a day. You're having servings of bread, starches, carbohydrates. And some of you today aren't probably far off from that, but that's not the base of the chart. But that was brought to you by Philip Morris. Yeah, there you go. All breads at the bottom of that chart in 1992.
And it says, eat more.
Yeah, eat more. Eat more breads, eat more pastas, eat more greens.
Yeah.
Now, see, before that, we didn't have gluten allergies either.
Mm-mm.
We didn't have gluten allergies. We didn't have nut allergies. We didn't have lactose allergies. We didn't have half the squiddiddlies that people have now. So something has changed, and it certainly isn't our genetic makeup. We have not evolved in any way, shape, or form in the last 2 decades, 3 decades. I don't really care. And I've been around 7 of them. So, maybe behaviors we've changed, but not genetics. And behaviors, that's environmental. Yes. Well, to some degree, sometimes though, because gut health controls your mental health. If you don't know it, let's have that conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start looking at it and we look at the whole world in terms of our diet, we still eat kind of the same foods. We really do. We eat breads, we eat pastas and that. But now you start looking, turn around. Wasn't that song, Turn Around? Turn around. What? Sad eye, turn around, brown eyes, sad eyes, whatever. Well, turn around the sad bag or box and read the label. And if you cannot pronounce the words, leave it in the store.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a label and you don't have those ingredients at home to make, leave it in the store. Think about that. Unless you really think that you want to be a lab experiment, I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. But I don't really think anybody does. But it's convenient to have a box or bag. It only takes about 5 minutes more to make things from raw ingredients that you know what you're getting rather than open up a bag or box and throw it in the micro good gravy. Or maybe the what are those things called? Air fryers, that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with them per se. Maybe, I don't know, the microwave, that school's out on that one. But the whole idea is that our food has changed. And with the changes in our food, we are seeing an increase in Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is just one segment of dementia. So when you hear Alzheimer's dementia, people get those words all discombobulated. If you think of the word dementia as an umbrella, that's the condition. Something's going wacky in the brain. And it's really too much sugar. Because now the brain is rusting, if you will. Glycation is happening. And so it kind of gets rusted. It's not getting the right nutrients. There's too much sugar. And the amount of sugar, guys, isn't coming from a thing. It's come from the frequency that we're eating. How many of you have been told to eat 3 times a day and then have snacks? Yeah, exactly. Right, Jennifer? I'm like, and the story is what? The story is to keep our metabolism high. Poppycock. It keeps your insulin high. It keeps your blood sugar high. It does nothing good. It does nothing healthy in any way. Hey, Susan, good seeing you. Nothing healthy for you in any way, shape, or form. None. Because you only need a teaspoon total. Now, if you can burn what you ate off by walking and all that good stuff, you don't have any issues. But what happens on the other side, if you have too much, it's going to be stored in different places.
Mhm.
And one of those places is going to be rusting and rotting your brain. And it ruins and rusts out stuff. So there's, and I don't even think, Jennifer, do you agree? I don't even think there's such a thing as pre-diabetes. You either are or you're not. Because even on the pre, there's like 5.6 and 5.7. What's the difference of a
There's a very, very thin
what's a
line.
fine line?
Yeah, my father's been diagnosed pre-diabetic.
Yeah. See, I look at it. I coached swimming, Jennifer, for 17 years, and there was a rule: is that once you're wet, you can't get any wetter.
Right. Yeah.
So once your blood sugar is wacky
Mhm.
because of the frequency that you're eating and the inability of your body to process it all,
Mhm.
you are. Now, the problem is that people hear insulin resistant, then they think, well, I'm not diabetic. And then they tune themselves out.
That is the first thing. That was for me. That was me, George. It took my diabetic friend to say everybody has insulin. Because that's what I grew up with. Now I'm a couple years younger than George. I'm 50. But like
Decades, not a couple years, decades, girl.
I'm a couple years younger. Trying to keep up with you, George. But whenever I would hear the word insulin, I instantly thought diabetic. Had not a clue that our bodies naturally produce insulin.
You need it for over 100 processes.
Mm-hmm.
It does more. It does 100 different things. It's not just a thing. It is a hormone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it does a lot of things. It's a necessary hormone. But let's back up to one of the words that we talk about: insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we talked about metabolism, which is a process of energy conversion. Insulin resistance means there's got to be something else, and that's insulin sensitivity. The cells are sensitive to it. I want it. Give me. And that's really what it is. The insulin is knocking on the door and saying, here, I have some more mitochondria. Would you like some energy? Would you like some gas? And if they go, yes, that goes in, the cells are insulin sensitive. But when they're full, like maybe you got at, I don't know, maybe the traditional is a Thanksgiving dinner where you're more stuffed than the turkey, and you're like belt away and loosen the strap and, take a nap, which we'll talk about later. But if you get overstuffed, overfull, you can't take anymore. But maybe you could have enough room for pumpkin or pecan pie. Maybe. And maybe a little bit of ice cream. And see, we overeat even when we're full.
Definitely.
But our body, our cells are a whole heck of a lot smarter. And they go like, no more. Nope, we're done. And so the first cells that go like that are the muscle cells. That's why if you work, free information, guys, you want a free tip? Eat and walk for 10 or 20 minutes. You don't have to go crazy. Just walk. Using your major muscles, you're going to help burn some of that glucose fuel off. But so you have the meal and then go sit on the couch. You're not using the muscles, and so they're full. So then insulin goes, okay, hey, liver, you want some? The liver goes, no, we're full from last week. We're full from this morning. Are you kidding me? Go somewhere else. So then insulin goes up to the brain, goes, hey, brain, you want some? Oh, God, no more. And then goes to the fat cells. And are you kidding me? Look at this belly. I missed their belly so big. I got no more room. Go somewhere else. So then where does it go? Now it shows up in your buds of your hydra, the skin tags, and your hair starts to fall out because it's growing, and like the hair goes like, bing! And then you got brain fog. You can't remember where the remote was. Then you get skin acne, and you get gout and inflammation. You start looking like the pumpkin that was just over on the counter, and you get inflammation in your joints, and you're like this, and then your feet, you can't feel stuff on your feet. You have, neuropathy, and you can't see, and you got retinopathy and brain fog and floaters and stuff you can't see is like your PCOS and ED. Well, you can see that. And then and then your gums start bleeding, and then you get fungus and yeast infections and toe fungus. And I mean, the list goes on. And high blood pressure, and then all the blood sugar issues, and then you start peeing all the time. And then if you're menopausal, good gravy. I mean, now you're hormonal over here, you're hormonal over there, you're sweating over here, you're sweating over there. Can't sleep, guys. You're snoring like yesterday, tomorrow. And then it becomes dueling snores. You snore, she snores, and you both argue about who snores the loudest. I mean, and then you're tired. You wake up, you got to go take a nap. Or you eat and you take a nap. You eat, and all of a sudden you're tired again. All of those things come back to the very, very simple thing that what was once insulin sensitive is now insulin resistive. And that's where we talk about the brain. And that's where we talk about when we start looking at this little bugger, the brain on sugar, metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, and how it's affecting. I'm gonna talk right here. I'm gonna talk about right there. This is my mom. I just visited my mom today. I'll be next weekend. It's my weekend, and mom's 96. Okay, mom is 96, and we all love our moms. I mean, come on, how can you not love your mom? And mom is 96, and she's the mother of 10 of us kids. I'm the oldest. I'm the patriarch. There's 5 boys and 5 girls. Just imagine how that balanced out. We live in 8 different states, from Alaska to Florida, Hawaii, California. Sister from California, Teresa, was just out. And every month, at least one of us is with mom. And we have her in our own home. And we have boots on the ground and 24/7. And we even have respite twice a week for our caregiver. And then we have hospice come in. We're blessed that we have mom. We're blessed that we're able to provide for mom at an intense, wonderful care, that she gets to stay at home. And so we don't have to really deal with sundowning and that kind of thing as a rule. And sundowning, if you don't know, for those of you that have not had the opportunity, is that the word I want to use? Had the experience to deal with sundowning, is that when someone with Alzheimer's goes to another facility, in this case, mom had to go to the hospital, it is a war when she was there. I mean, the nice, quiet lady was throwing stuff, and she's just out of her rhythm, out of her whole thing. And it's not a thing you want to witness. It's not something you want to be around. It just is not what you want to see. And you don't wish that on anybody. And the thing Jennifer knows is, I know that the protocol that we'll talk about after a while that literally saved my life. If I would have known about this 10 years ago, a decade ago, our mom would not have Alzheimer's. Because Alzheimer's, and you're going to hear from us now, Alzheimer's is preventable. It is reversible. And it is improvable. It is not inevitable. And that, unfortunately, is what a lot of people think. They think it's inevitable. It can be inevitable if you continue to eat and live the lifestyle of the modern day food environment. Absolutely. You can eat yourself into diabetes. You can eat yourself into cardiovascular. You can eat yourself into all kinds of eating and diet and lifestyle. You can get everything you ever wanted to have, every pill the pharmacy has for you. But you can also adjust the other way. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. Now, I do the other thing about, I just want to real quick, I'll just say this with my dad. My dad was the true country doctor. We had the clinic in the house. I was on house calls when I was 5. And my dad, and when I was on house calls, I was out in the barnyard or the front room while dad was in the bedroom. That's real medicine. But dad died of adenocarcinoma that is also insulin resistant. Dad came from the Philippines in 47 and really exhibited what we call tofu now. Thin on the outside, fat on the inside. We ate rice every meal almost, not necessarily breakfast, but we ate rice. And that's kind of the traditional diet. So therein lies some of our story. And we're going to talk about the whole genetic thing in a minute, but that's kind of a little bit of story of my background with dealing with Alzheimer's. And I'm going to kind of turn it over to Jennifer to have a little conversation about her experience. And it's, you know, we both have stories, and I want Jennifer to help you guys understand a little bit of a caregiver's story from a younger perspective, a daughter's perspective, as opposed to the oldest son's perspective. There's a difference, guys. You talk one way and you guys kind of talk another way. And so go ahead, good Jennifer.
Well, for me, George, thank you for having me. My Alzheimer's experience started with my grandma. This is Helen Robinson.
Hi, Helen.
This is my loving grandmother. She is my mom's mom.
Okay.
My grandmother, when she used to be the most amazing baker. Her specialty was handmade Mexican wedding cakes. And my grandma loved to cook for all of us. She was fun to be around, little 5 foot something, little old lady, just greatest spirit. As her life progressed, in my teen years, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She sadly, it was the Alzheimer's where my grandma went on walks by herself. My grandfather didn't know where she went. He'd have to go scour the complex they lived in. She would put random items in a paper bag because she was going somewhere. Whether it be a sock or an apple or, things that just don't make sense in a brown paper bag. Grandmother over time had to be put into a nursing home. There was a situation where she had broken her hip, and because my grandfather was older, there wasn't enough. He still believed that she was in there, and at times she was. Unfortunately, they lost their ability to make a choice, and the hospital, because of the broken hip, would not allow her to go home. So that's where the nursing home came in. My grandmother suffered from migraines most of her life. And I clearly remember my grandmother sitting in this nursing home in her wheelchair, holding her head and rocking because her head hurt so bad. And when I would go in to see her, she thought I was my mother, Karen. And here's my mom standing over here, bawling her eyes out. And my grandmother saying, "I don't know who you are. I don't even know why you're here." She did the same thing with my uncle. My dad, David, became her husband. So for some reason, I was Karen. My dad was Lawrence. And here's this tiny little woman who's trying to shove my uncle, who is 6 foot some, out a window, saying he's a terrorist. So I go from sweet little old lady right here, still looked the same, but behaved like somebody I had never seen before. I was 14 at the time. I didn't understand why she kept calling me Karen. I kept saying, "Oh, Grandma, I'm Jennifer." "No, you're Karen. Jennifer's your baby." Okay. Yeah, I was a baby at one time. Yes. Sadly, when she passed away, and it was an interesting story that I learned about my grandfather, because my grandfather's concern, and he was older and had his own issues going on. And my aunt and uncle would say, did you go and visit mom? And he said, yes. And they said, well, how did you get there? I counted the stop signs. I know how to get to her by counting stop signs. That story is so heartbreaking to me because he knew he couldn't help her. I wish I would have known what I know now so I could have helped her. She was absolutely miserable, George. Absolutely miserable. It is not something I wish on anybody. My father, like I mentioned, he was diagnosed pre-diabetic. He's on 2 different Alzheimer's medications. Not diagnosed. Very forgetful. I do see some of the sundowning at times. If you go past noon, do not have a large conversation. He becomes more frustrated, more confused. There is a little bit of light. Dad is willing to go see a neurologist, so we go in October. That is a big deal for me. He's going to go see the same neurologist my mother's seeing. My mother, Karen, has not been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She has mild cognitive decline, but it is more advanced for somebody at the age of 79. Being a caregiver, for me, I don't have the respite care yet, with the exception of my brother and sister-in-law do come to help me out. They come every weekend. I had a family emergency. I had to leave for about a week. They came and stayed. It's a lot of, you're on call all the time. I'm in charge of medications. I'm in charge of getting them filled. I'm in charge of making the appointments. At the same time, I have, as you saw a little while ago, I have an elderly dog. I have a geriatric cat, and I'm trying to take care of my 50-year-old self. And at times it is exhausting. And I feel like I am a mouse on a wheel and I can't get off. Caregiving is not for the weak of heart.
And eventually not for the weak of the back, the body.
For any of it, because I'm watching my parents age in front of my eyes. Yeah. It's different if I'd come to visit. You get short spurts. Yes, you can see that there's a change, or you can see in conversations on the phone, there's a change. This is a daily, nonstop, in your face, have feelings all the time. It's become a little bit easier. I've been here about 2 years and I didn't know what I was doing. I follow a lot of different groups on Facebook, and one of them is a caregiver, and she's been taking care of her mother, who is in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's. And this young lady is 35. She's been doing this for 10 years. And I'm like, bless you, girl, because I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know what I'm doing. And on a positive note, George, my mother is waiting for the clearance from her doctor to start the protocol.
Is she? Good.
Yeah. My dad is no, thank you.
Yeah, he'll be fighting it till yesterday and tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But he's type 2 now or not?
Not yet.
Okay. So
I believe we're pretty close.
If he crosses that bridge, then you can say, okay, now. So he doesn't qualify yet in his mind.
Yes, that is a very true statement. And you were talking about, you have dinner, you get tired, you have dinner, you're watching TV, and you're eating your bag of chips. That is my father to a T. They had dinner. He went to watch the news, fell asleep. Right before I got on the call, my dad's eating a bag of chips, watching TV.
Got it. Now, what are their sleep patterns like, and how does that affect your sleep pattern?
Dad used to get up and down multiple times a night. I'm on a different end of the house, but my door is always open, so I can always hear. Dad would go from the couch to the bed, to the couch to the bed. Mom, she has other gastrointestinal, stuff going on, so yeah. I don't hear her as much. But There's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of sleeping during the day. And obviously that's when I'm most active. I mean, 6 to 6:30, I'm up and going, and I don't
Right.
stop till 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12 at night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, how are you handling meal planning? Are they cooking?
No,
Do you
they no
allow them to
longer cook.
cook? Do you
They
allow
no
them to
longer
cook?
cook. So
Okay.
I am the cook.
Okay. Very good.
And
And
I will tell you, learning things outside of the food pyramid, I'm slowly educating as I go along. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of, I need my bread. I need my cereal in the morning. I need my oatmeal. So fasting right now is not really in the game plan. But I make sure that, like tonight they had carrots, they had chicken, they did have rice because that is like a staple in their mind.
oh yeah, I
And
understand
they
that.
look at me and they say, "Oh, are you gonna have some rice?" No, I'm good. I'm gonna have my chicken and I'm gonna have my carrots. And I may be done eating by then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
But
had
it definitely is a process for me. It was difficult to change the mindset. You
do
know,
you have
it,
to do you menu plan? Do you just wing it every day? Do you plan a week, or do you follow some kind of program, or repeat every 7 days, or what are you doing?
I will be quite honest. I fly by the seat of my pants. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, today's pork chop day. And they'll ask me around noon, what's for dinner? So by the time I get up, I've already decided what you're having that day. Every once in a while, they'll throw me a curveball. They want to order out pizza. Okay. The food will wait. I can make it, prepare it ahead of time. We can have it tomorrow. It's totally fine. I have noticed because of me being on protocol that what I eat is quite different. And, I obviously don't get a lot of alone time because they're constantly needing something. I'm constantly there all the time. So at dinner time, sometimes it's just me. And I eat the way that I want to eat. My dad thinks it's a little hokey. But I have to remember that he is following exactly what his mother taught him, his father taught him, what he has known. And, it's funny when you were mentioning food in the grocery store, you notice that if you walk in the grocery store and go around the perimeter, with the exception of maybe the deli meat and the bread, it's all healthy food. Of course, there are some things in there, always read your labels.
Right.
But for the most part, it's on the outside of the store, not
Yep.
in the middle.
Mm.
But where
Mm.
do we go? We go to the middle. We go up and down every aisle and try and retraining myself that I don't have to go in the middle. It took me about a good 30 days because it takes that long for me to break a habit. But I do my best. I look up different things that I can feed my parents, different things that, I always make sure that there's a vegetable in there for them. I tell, when I do eat with them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have my salad and now I'm going to have the chicken and maybe a couple bites of, some raspberries or blueberries at the end. And my dad will just look at me and he's like, that's breakfast. And why didn't you eat the potato? You know, it's an educational process on constant repeat because of the cognitive decline and the forgetfulness and the potential Alzheimer's. So I'm constantly repeating all day long.
Yep. I remember several years ago, my grandmother, my mom's mom, who lived to over 100, and she didn't have Alzheimer's, but it was a mother-daughter deal.
Mm.
And I remember grandmother calls me, "Hey, Georgie, would you move me?" I go, "Where?" Well, she wanted to go to the place where all of her friends were.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we moved her there. And then about a year and a half, 2 years later, she says, "Georgie, would you move me?" I go, "Where?" Because her house, my uncle had bought her house.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to live? To where? He says, with your mom. I go, does she know? So I had those two together, and that was an interesting, mother-daughter deal of
Mm-hmm.
nearly 100 at that time, and the 80s plus. And mom would actually make a menu, or make every day it'd be, here's choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Pick. There was 3 choices, man, and none of them were the right choice. None of them were good enough, and none were ever cooked right. And just like those two, I was like, I'm the oldest. I'm the patriarch,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm that was 10 minutes, 15 minutes away. So sometimes it was ding, 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 Filipino referee. Anyway, so yeah, but those two, but they went at it and they were fun. But yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting thing when the kids get to become the parent,
And I'll,
and
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 I'll tell you, George, there's a lot of resistance here.
yeah,
I've been called a drill sergeant.
oh yeah,
I've been called mean. And now, mind you, they're telling this to medical professionals
oh yeah, oh
as I
yeah,
sit there. And I'm
yeah,
like, okay, I've been called worse.
yeah,
It'll be all
exactly,
right.
yeah,
But you have to, and I am like you, I'm the oldest child. You have, I feel an obligation to my parents. Um, at my mom's neurology appointment, the gentleman did suggest maybe you consider going into senior living with some assistance. My mom's on a lot of medications. She takes a lot of eye drops. Um, somebody just to keep you on track with your
yeah,
medical needs. And she seemed kind of shocked. And he said, well, you're at a stage in your life where you're still cognitive enough to make your own decision. So you need to decide, do you want to make your own decision, or do you want your decision to be made for you? So there's slow conversation happening.
yeah, and for people to understand, even one of the important things we even talk about is documentation.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is there people will say, well, power of attorney. Well, there can be power of attorney for property, and there's power of attorney for healthcare. And generally, you want 2 different people involved in different capacities.
Mm-hmm.
Good to have backups. But one of the things about power of attorney is that if someone is unwilling, incapable, or unable, so they can give up in a lot of states. And I'm not an attorney, but I can read. And at various different states and different areas, the rules and things are different. But in a general sense, if someone's unwilling to, they can say, okay, please do it. Or incapable is a whole nother animal. So there's
Mm-hmm.
unwilling, incapable, or unable. And so those can enact different powers. And it's best that you have those real discussions. And I'm talking to those of you that are listening that are not the patient, but
Mm-hmm.
potentials to become a patient and or a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
Have those discussions early. Have those discussions agreed to, and have backups. Because I can tell you from my previous profession, working with hundreds and hundreds of families in that arena, sometimes that's the thing they don't want to talk about. They don't want to let anybody know because it might hurt somebody's feelings. But good gravy, if you don't have it done and people don't know,
Mm-hmm.
to get it undone, redone, like we had a situation where the power of attorney for finance was dead, and the document had never been changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you go about that? Cheaply, inexpensively. You can't just say, well, make it up, because that's, and then even the beneficiary, the beneficiary of was that person who was supposed to share it out to everybody else and all this elaborateness. Like, how? So those types of things that a lot of people never even talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
The legal documentation is critical. The power of attorney for healthcare is critical. That we know it's not, well, what's DNR mean? Do not resuscitate. What does that mean? Does that mean that if you're choking on a piece of soup, I'm supposed to just sit there and watch it choke? Or does that mean I can get that going so we can continue our conversation? Where, you don't want heroic effort. So where's that defined? So specificity needs to be addressed. Just a generic blanket thing could leave, well, our buddy, our buddy Doc K did the Heimlich on our buddy John at a restaurant. Now, if John would have had a DNR or no heroic things, and Doc would have known about it, now he has to make a decision: is this heroic or not? Well, I like John. I had to jump on his chest and beat on his head until it came out. I don't know. Right. I love the guy. But the whole thing is that those documents, these documents for care and what you want to have, and then even to the final stages, even in the final moments, do you want to be medicated even if it hastens your demise? Or what do you want? Those are major decisions that become a burden to Jennifer. They become a burden to the rest of the family. They become a burden as to when and how, under what guidelines. And sometimes it's best if someone other than the main caregiver may be the person to make those decisions. Someone that's, because I guarantee you Jennifer didn't want Grandma Helen out. No. Jennifer did not want Grandma Helen to stop baking cookies.
No.
Or breads or anything. And so the emotional thing is there, the financial thing is there, the moral thing is there. And these are all things that we want to talk about and address because it helps with, it's emotional. Good gravy, I'm going to bawl. But because we don't want to deal with it, the emotional strain, but we must deal with it because someone has to deal with it in the programming of it. So it becomes, because we get to be almost a half a step out of ourselves because we have to attend to the need while the need has to be attended to.
Right.
And even if it's swiping the backside and rinsing off the front, if it's getting the bills paid, if it's everything it involves. If you've ever been a parent, you get to do it again. Only someone that's going to argue with you about it, or tell you how you should do it, or they're going to do it themselves, and you let them, you give them the latitude, and then one arm is over here and their eyebrows red and whatever. And that's fine. In essence, it's fine because it's, but at the same time, we want to care for them the same way they cared for us. And it makes the difference. But,
George, it really all circles back around to their health. When we're talking about documentation and, what it is that they want for themselves. My dad thinks I'm going to take the keys to the kingdom. And I keep reminding him, I don't want your keys. I want to make sure I do what is best for you. What do you want? It seems to be a very taboo conversation. I honestly do not know if it's generational, but I can tell you, back in the early 2000s, I told my daughter, this is where my documentation is. This is what, if you're comfortable, I'm going to add you to XYZ and everything. I need you to take care of these things. I happen to have I don't have a DNR. But with that being said, if it comes down to a point where I'm on a machine and it's end of days, you make the decision. I give you full permission to do what is best. You know, it's hard when you have somebody that is confused minute to minute, hour to hour, to try to have that conversation.
Yeah, and you can't have it anymore. I mean, they can't really.
No.
I mean, the issue becomes: can they sign a document that will not be argumented that was under duress
Right.
or some other thing? It's like, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the point of this part of the conversation, guys. Is these things need to be dealt with while everybody can play canasta. I mean, and sometimes the parents are like, no, 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 we're not going to try. No, no, we're fine. And sometimes it's the kids. No, 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 you're going to live forever. No, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
So there needs to be that. This is a necessary conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where we're at with dealing with care and that, now we're trying to help give them the best nutrition
Mm-hmm.
to best mitigate the damage that's being done or has been done in our modern day food environment. And so therein lies talking to the world. One of the things is if it says bioengineered, leave it in the store. If it says GMO, leave it in the store. If it has seed oil, leave it in the store. If it has some kind of sugar you've never heard of, leave it in the store. If it's high fructose syrup, leave it in the store. Those are all manufactured for profit, not nutrition. Those are all manufactured to be addictive, a la dad's begging on a bag of chips.
Mm-hmm.
No, what was the ad? Bet you can't eat just one.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
It was a little girl with a little chip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you pop those Pringles, oh my God, that's a can of gluten pooping. I mean, it's just, I mean, what was that stuff that was made out of? What's that oil? I forget the oil, Olestra or whatever it is. I mean, that's just a can of gluten pooping. But people start eating them and they go with them until their tongue gets tired of the sweet saliva done, and then it just turns to paste and people get tired of them then. Same thing as you start eating like cheese curls and cheese balls, bang, 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 and like, you get tired of them. So you get tired of them and you look for something else. You should be full.
Yeah.
It should be full. I mean, who needs a jar the size of, I don't know, 2 bowling balls? And you start with 1 or 2, and then pretty soon you lift the bowl up, the jar up, and you go like this. And then you put them down and you start looking for M&Ms or Skittles or, oh, there's some grapes. I think I'll have some grapes. Grapes are good for you. We just got done with 5 cups of cheese balls. Now you want 2 cups of grapes. And then, there's some who made some s'mores? Snickerdoodles. Oh, I think I'll have an Oreo. I'll have a Nature Gallery Death Bar because they're healthy for you. I'm like, oh, come on. And then, I got some chips. We got any dip? Oh, we got ranch dip. Yeah, good. Ranch. Ranch is good for you. And then it's dinner. You haven't stopped eating. How could you be ready to eat? I'm hungry.
I hear that on a daily basis. They have the snack between they eat around 6, so anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30, there's snacks. I'm like, are you gonna be full when you hit dinner? No. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what's a night routine after dinner?
Well, after you've had your dessert, which was either a piece of pie or some mom's on eating gelato.
Okay.
Then she had pretzels. Give it about 45 minutes. Dad's having chips, and then maybe some nuts. And then you cannot forget the bowl of ice cream between 9 and 11:30. Every day. Every day. And I notice, and I watch when they eat. Mom especially doesn't eat all the protein. she wants to eat the potato or the stuff on the potato. And then she might finish the protein, but then she's already into, I'll have a cookie or two, maybe a pretzel, and then my gelato. And then after I'll eat some more pretzel. Okay. You know, if I try to remind them, if you eat more of the protein, you won't feel like that. It'll help. You know, mom is on board with working with, getting on the protocols. She just she wants to make sure that her doctors read it in the PDR. Like I said, dad's nope. No
Yeah, now
thanks.
Midge, Dr. Midge, her dad, Dr. Midge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Endocrinologist. And
Yes.
her dad developed Alzheimer's and had type 2.
Mm-hmm.
And with them, what they did is they didn't have them fast.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't change his order of food or anything because food was the one thing that gave him pleasure.
Mm.
But on the protocol, they did reverse the type 2.
Nice.
Even not having to do the other stuff, they
Mm-hmm.
let him still enjoy his food. Now, too far down the street, like with my mom, to reverse the Alzheimer's, but was able to eliminate the side effects, if you will, the damage of the type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Not being able to eliminate type 3, but so I know
Now,
that's one of the things that you can look forward to with mom.
mm-hmm. Now with your mom, does she have the gene variant? Do you know?
You
Or
know,
is
I don't know that she has the ApoE.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if she does, and I know my grandfather did, or I don't know if he did or not, but it'd be hard to think that he didn't because he'd be out walking in his underwear on the road looking for his car,
Mm-hmm.
At night, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So and that was, trying to control that was an issue. So, and he was uncontrolled. Became violent. He was a
Mm-hmm.
fairly large guy. So, unfortunately, granddad had to be placed in a facility
Mm-hmm.
because couldn't handle him. There was just too much. And grandmother did great for as long as she could, but that had to go. And my grandmother didn't have that. I mean, she lived to 102, and she could Jennifer, she could tell you the day you were born, the weather that day.
Mm-hmm.
She knew your name. She knew everybody's birth dates, that kind of thing. And she was kind of a sneaky little one. She's acted like she couldn't see very well, And so one day I was by her back when she went back to the home after she had her hip, but the TV was on at the end of the bed, and I'm sitting on the bed with grandma, and the weather came up, on the TV. And I go, well, it looks like it's going to be, she goes, yeah, it's going to be 30, 38 in Springfield and 42 in Decatur. And like, you sly dog, you couldn't read that, you faker. And she got that Cheshire looking smile, like, maybe anything. And so, yeah, I get that. But so, we always find joy and fun in the dark and the sad because we have
Yes.
to give that. We have
Yes.
to give that. And that's the requirement. But yeah, I don't know whether none of us, I don't think any of my brothers and sisters know if we have any kind of trailer gene at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And that's like Cheryl isn't here right now. She'll be here later, and she doesn't want to know because her twin sister.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't want to know. She knows one of her sons has that gene,
Mm.
the APOE2 or 4, whatever. I forget. I
Mm-hmm.
flipped there. But that doesn't make it inevitable.
True.
It doesn't make it just okay. Now you have an awareness. And if you have an awareness that you have that,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to remember where the bullets are, how about we change what we eat and drink and frequency? Because diet makes the difference. And that's what every study shows. The latest study that I read before Jennifer and I got together, there was another one that came out, and it said that, they said, well, people on the Mediterranean diet and this and stuff, do well. And so, okay, great. And rather than talk about this ingredient in that diet or this ingredient in that diet or this oil is better than coconut oil is better than single press sourced olive oil, blah, 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 or avocado. Instead of arguing about that minutia, let's look what they didn't put in there. There was no processed, no ultra processed foods. None. None. There was no seed oils.
Yeah.
None. There was omega-3 oils, which are your avocado and your coconut or your MCT and your olive oil. Okay, those are 3 omegas, and raw, real fresh caught fish, not pond raised, fresh wild caught. There you got your 3s, great, and 9s. 6s, no. 6s are a no, and that's seed oils. And seed oils aren't always liquid. If you look at inside of a box, and you'll see it'll say vegetable oils. I don't know what a vegetable oil is, but then on parentheses have rapeseed and palm and soy and corn, canola. I mean, put them back. And why? Because they provide nothing. They are fillers. They're space takers in the box, in the recipe, right? For profit at your expense. Not only do you pay for it, but you're going to pay for it with your health. And then the starches. If there's modified starch, and I don't care what it is, wheat, corn, I don't care, barley, malt, I don't care what. If it's modified starch, it turns to sugar faster than sugar, and it is a filler. It's in there because it's a filler, because it's cheaper to put in a box. And I'm going to get off my high horse and I'll let you speak in a minute here. I just got to get off. This one always drives me insane. Jennifer, if you were going to make peanut butter, right? Simple peanut butter. What would you put in if you're going to make it? You're going to use a blender, Breville, Vitamix, Ninja, whatever. Or you do it at the store in their little thingy dingy. What would you put in your peanut butter?
Peanuts.
Yeah. And maybe some salt, maybe.
I may put a little bit. I may put a little bit of Celtic salt in there.
Yeah, some Redmonds or Himalayan, some Celtic or Baja Gold. Some nice high quality salt with a lot of minerals.
Right.
As opposed to sodium chloride. Now, yeah, that's what I put in mine too. And my favorite, when I make it, I haven't made it for a while. My favorite is pecan, walnut, macadamia, and cashews with cayenne and then a high quality salt. Yeah, now that's a nut butter.
I will do no cayenne, but the rest sounds delicious.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a nuance. It's just a nuance. It's not to go like, oh, it's just back there. It's just a subtle. But anyway, I get that. But if you picked up, and I've got the jars on my desk, if you pick up Choosing Moms Choose this one, the first order is peanuts. The second one is sugar. The third ingredient is molasses. And then it's rapeseed oil, soybean oil, some ecoside, and then salt. Now, here's the question. Imagine this, Jennifer. I'm babysitting you. Okay, I'm babysitting 10-year-old you,
Okay.
and I make you a peanut butter sandwich. And I look at the recipe. So here's your slice of white bread. No, but that's probably what it is, Wonder Bread or whatever, right? So here's your white bread.
Yeah, back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. And then we get okay, here's our fresh made butter or our fresh made peanut butter, right? I mean, peanuts ground into chunky or creamy, however you like it. And now that's on there. So then I look at the recipe on the jar and I go, oh, so I go to the pantry and I grab some rapeseed oil. So I pour some rapeseed oil on it. And then it says soybean oil. Oh, cool. I go get some soybean oil. I put some soybean oil on it. I'm going to feed you that? No way, yesterday and tomorrow. Think about that. Moms, dads that are listening to this, grandmas and grandpas, look, the reason you buy that Tuesday Moms or the big canister or whatever, because it's cheaper. You buy it because it's cheaper, and or you've been sold the idea of Skippy or Jiffy or whatever. You've been sold that thing, and up on the higher shelf by itself is a lonely little jar that says peanut butter.
That is very true.
And it's more expensive.
The bare bones peanuts and salt will always be up higher than your eyes.
Yeah, it's above there, and you don't buy it because it's more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it more expensive? Because all that's in there is peanuts. The lower shelves have peanuts and this oil and that oil and another oil and maybe some sugar and some molasses and some other chemicals, and it's hydrolyzed to make it solid. The reason that little jar up there separates is because that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
That is natural. That's why you have to look it up, right? You blend it back up. That's fine. That's good. That says it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's been what? Processed. No, not only was it processed, the oils were individually processed and bleached, went through hexane and a bunch of other stuff, bleached. And then it came to the place where the peanuts were, and it was poured into that concoction, and then hydrogen was infused to make it solidified. That's what hydrolyzed means. That's why peanut butter doesn't separate when it's processed. Real peanut butter separates.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Real
it
peanut
does.
butter is going to be more expensive because that's what's in there. This is cheaper because there's some, but a whole lot ain't.
Mm-hmm.
And they're selling it to you that all of that, you think you're getting this big tub of peanut butter. And
There's too much other stuff in there, George, for it all to be peanuts.
so my lesson about this, guys, is what we were talking about with Alzheimer's, feeding our children. Bobby likes walnut, almonds, and cashews. Great, I love it. Omega-3 content. Yes, I know. I love Dr. Bobby. Anyway, thanks, Dr. Bobby. I love you. But the whole thing is that when we feed our parents with Alzheimer's, when we feed ourselves, when we feed our children, these things all matter.
They do.
And the order of food matters. Just as Jennifer said multiple times, we're going to look at having our fiber and fats, and then protein, then maybe carbs.
Yep.
It's just the way it goes. Well, Jennifer, I love you. It's been great. Anything you want to talk about? I'll see you Sunday. Yeah, you'll be on Sunday.
Absolutely. I will be on Sunday.
Good. And Charles should be here. Just getting your hair done. Whatever.
Those things are important.
I did mine.
You must be a wash and go.
Go
you wash
anyway.
and then you go.
And go anyway. Where's my ball cap? Right? Yeah, let's go. No. So anyway, Jennifer, I love chatting with you. I mean, it helps. I know that some people get some value out of our conversations because we talk the truth and we help people understand that there's hope and there's a reality to it if you haven't experienced, but you're getting ready to. If you're worried about it for yourself, it's there. And if you know someone that would you like to come out and have a conversations with us, please get a hold of Jennifer. You know, I'm here in Illinois and parts in between. And Jennifer is in Texas.
I'm in
now.
Florida.
Florida now?
Yes.
Good, great. You can't keep up with your girlfriend.
I'm on the move, George. I'm on the move.
I know you are. And by the way, Jennifer, tell them about the one event that's coming up in November.
November 9th, I will be walking in Boca Raton, Florida for the walk to end Alzheimer's. I was looking to see when the last time was I did a walk. The last walk I did was 20 years ago.
Wow.
I did not realize it had been 20 years. I also had not been speaking about my grandma and Alzheimer's until now. So if you are a person that believes in a spiritual higher power, I think it's knocking at my door. Saying it's time. It's time to share. It's time to provide hope to people. So I will be walking on the 9th of November. If you choose, there's no pressure to do so. I do raise money for the Alzheimer's Association so they can continue to do their research. That information is on my Facebook page, so feel free to jump over to my Facebook page. We can become friends. We can chat. We can bounce feelings off of each other. Just know that you're not alone in this process, and that there's always somebody there to talk to. You can reach out to George. George has experience in this too. We're both living the caregiver life. We're living it in different levels, but we're both doing it. So yeah.
Perfect. Kid, I love you.
Love you too, George.
Thanks for coming on. All right.
Thank you so much. I'll see you
bet.
next time.
All right. Good night now.